Short and sweet, we had a surprise guest speaker show up that we'll let Lieutenant Bales talk to us a little bit about police stuff, which is good. You are being recorded, so anything you say can and will be used against your recorded law. So be included, no, I'm just kidding. Welcome. Give us your name there and find a seat for us. I want to start out with just kind of a question, and we had someone supposed to be here from PTA to talk about.
That's me.
What's that?
From Deepwood?
You are here, okay.
Yes.
They are here. So
Sorry, I was
we'll
trying
let them
to
talk in a few minutes.
get dinner and everything in before I came.
Kind of updates on what's going on. The usual stuff is, the question that comes up is where are we at with the silent crossings? And as usual, we're still in the Falls and Union Pacific's court. We're waiting on them. They have to do all the construction. Everything is done and approved, but you've heard of slower than molasses. Well, the Union Pacific makes molasses look like a sprinter. They don't move fast on anything, so we're kind of at their mercy right now. Those of you along with New Health have noticed all the activity going on there. They're redoing the walking path, and I understand that it's going to be cement. That's what
Yeah, it's like about that wide. You can see if you go over
down by the creek.
down by the creek, you can see where they start pouring sections of it.
Okay. Now they've got a little ways to go on that whole thing. Of course, we've all had the helicopter excitement for the past couple of weeks. Everybody seen that or heard that? The helicopters? Everybody know what's going on with that now?
Yes.
They're putting the high power lines that run up and down the green belt. There's a static wire that runs along the top of those. I'm not an electrician, so I don't know, something about that, replacing it with fiber or something. Anyway, that's what they've been doing. They kind of got in a helicopter with a platform across the landing rails, and this guy strapped to it, working on it, and they fly to the next pole, and he does some work, and they fly to the next pole. It's crazy.
I hope he gets paid pretty well.
Yeah, exactly. Because usually in this neighborhood, what happens is when you hear a helicopter, you get the Facebook page lights up and says, okay, they're chasing criminals around the neighborhood. And not that, we don't even have a helicopter, do we? Yeah, didn't think so. We have a big SWAT truck though. I know we got that thing. That's a beast.
That crossing, they're gonna wait, is extremely rough getting across that railroad track.
Oh, it's getting bad on County Road 172. I'm gonna call and see if they can at least do something temporary, because it's really bad. I don't know if you've been over it recently, but it's getting rough. I mean, way worse than it was before when they fixed it the last time. And the problem is that they've been delaying it because when they redo that intersection, they're gonna redo it all. So they're trying to put off the inevitable, so maybe there's something little that they can do. But then I'm gonna talk to Gary at the city to see if he can light a fire under them and do that. The other problem is that's right at it's technically in the county, it's not in the city. Isn't that right, Denver?
I think that intersection's in the city.
In the city? The intersection itself is, I know
That
past the intersection.
It may
in the
be
county.
different with regards to who owns the actual repairs of the roads.
Well, because when you get across 172, County Road 172 itself is in the county. And all those properties on the east side of the road are in the city except for one. I don't know how that one ended up out of the city, but there's a little one property notched up that's in the county. But somebody asked today, I got an email about paving the streets. So what the city did a few years ago was they went through and they graded every street in the city. That they have this, I don't know, some spreadsheet, and they make all kinds of notes, and they rank them on, worst to best. And then what they do is the budget comes out, they'll pick a few streets in each neighborhood. And they did a few year before last. They also came in last year and they're doing it. I don't know how well this is going over right now. They're doing an experimental coating. And they did it in Creekmont and they did it on Shadowbrook Circle. I think those were the only two. And it was more of in the past they've sprayed some tar down and spread some gravel. That's what they did about 15 years ago or so. And this is more of a new technology that's supposed to be a seal coat stuff that gets down into the cracks and seals the road and prevents it from deteriorating further. It's supposed to be really good technology. It doesn't make your street look any nicer. It just makes it look like a really messy black coating. It's not like when they redid Oak Ridge and we got all that nice new paving up and down the street. Yes, ma'am.
Well, is there a list somewhere we can see where they
I
are?
told him to, I tell you, I'm gonna look that up and find out what's on the schedule next.
Because I know, like my street, same way.
Was that your email I got today?
No.
'Cause somebody else
It's
was
not
saying
where
Williams.
it's bad. It really
Okay.
needs to be done.
And somebody on St. Williams, I guess it might have been the Street of the Loop that sent me an email today, and your street's pretty rough, and it's still surviving from the 2010 flood. So there's still effects left from that flood on September 7th, 2010. That probably didn't help that, and they haven't done anything with it since then, so. I can't think of any other details right now. If you have anybody have questions on stuff, yes ma'am? No, please do. That's what we're
Okay,
here for.
it is on the improvement, and I say that tongue in cheek on the hike and bike trail. I talked to them because I was bothered they didn't move trees. And I was upset about that. And they told me they could not replant them because it is a electrical right-of-way.
Right.
And I said, so you knew that when you took them out?
Right.
And he said, yes. And I said, well, from what I could see, you could have just curved it a little bit and avoided taking the trees out. Plus, or you could have, instead of making it, they made it much wider, like 6 feet, you could have gone 5 feet there and still the trees would be living. He said, well,
So I can try to help walk you through that. So I don't know how many, I know they made every effort to try to take out as few trees as possible. And where they did, they're trying to take out the least attractive of the trees, okay?
Well, you could say that, but they took out mesquite, which are very producing, which the deer eat, plus there are several types of birds that eat them. So they really do quite a bit for the environment. And I know we all love our little herd of deers there on the loop. Well, most of us. Even though they chew my plants, I still love them dearly. So I felt like that was really a poor choice. I think they could have thought that through a little bit. So I asked, and I know that people have planted trees on that right away, their own trees, because they didn't want people looking at them for whatever reason. But I'm sure that came before the city decided to take, or the power lines full
How
control.
long have you lived in the neighborhood?
All for 35 years.
Okay, so do you realize that in this, I moved here about 25 years ago, that now there's probably about 800 more trees in this neighborhood than there was 25 years ago?
Okay, but the other part of it is that there have been several oak trees and pecan trees that have died, big ones over 200 years old. And I asked them about that because it's really worried me because it's been bam, bam, bam. And I thought, well, what's going on here? Is there some disease got them? Is it the drought?
Where were these trees located?
On the loop. On the loop and on the electric.
But where on the loop?
Okay, where it actually
On
goes
public
down,
property or private property?
behind the mosque, and then across the creek. There were 2 big oaks there, and then an oak and a pecan tree, and another oak that went down, and nothing's been done. And I said, what's going on? I mean, is there some kind of disease we need to know about in the neighborhood? Is there something that can help these trees? Is it the drought? What is it? He said, well, we don't know. He goes, well, I don't think we've really looked at it. He goes, we have thousands of trees to look at.
Who did you talk
His
to?
name was Ricky, and I don't know what his last name was.
Okay, so here's what you need, let me just tell you who to call. And this will get the answers to your question. Call the city, call Parks and Rec. I think it's under Parks and Rec, and to ask for Imsud Horozovich.
Roosevelt?
Imsud Horozovich, he's been here, about as long as I've been here. And this guy's forgotten more about trees than most people know.
Well,
He's a city arborist.
I did leave a
And he'll come
message.
out to your house if you want. If you're having a problem with a tree at your house, he'll come out and look at it for you.
Okay, well, anyway, they're dying, and they're hundreds of years old.
I'll tell you how to spell his name.
Okay.
It's E-M-S-U-D.
Wait a minute,
M-S-U-D, and the last name Horozovich, H-O-R-O-Z-O-V-I, and I think it's C-H.
It's just a C, I think.
Just a C,
think
yeah,
so.
Horozovich, then just a C at the
And
end.
he's with Parks and Rec?
He's the city arborist, he's in charge of all the trees in the city.
Okay, well, Rick, who's in the forestry department, told me that
Should be able to answer that question for you. If he can't, he'll come out and look at it and then answer it for you.
Okay, well, the other thing, I don't want to take everybody's time, but it's about the cement. You know, I did talk to him about that too, because we did have asphalt before that, and it's much, much easier on your knees if you're a runner or whatever, and there's a lot of runners, and he said that they made a decision to go with cement because it was cheaper to fix. And I said, I've been here 35 years, and that trail's been in maybe 20.
When you talked to Rick, was it Rick Atkins?
No, it was not.
Okay, because he's the Parks and Rec
This
director.
guy's,
That doesn't sound like Rick.
and he says that they thought it was too costly to fix, and so they're going to, you know, as they have to replace things, they're just going to replace them with cement, and I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, I've gotten a couple of comments along that line, like 2 maybe of all the people that have mentioned it. And of all the time that I see people going up and down that thing, I very seldom see people running on it.
Oh, I see.
It's usually walking. There's a couple here and there that run, but they're mostly walking. And most of the runners I see are not on the green belt, they're out on the street.
Well, I literally right.
I don't know the
right
answer.
next to it. So-
I don't know the answer why. I can certainly find out for you on that.
Well, I'm just wondering, so they don't ask our opinion on anything, and I think like, and I don't like to compare to Austin's Parks and Recs, ours, Austin's. But I will say about their hike and bike trails, they keep them hiking bike trails, and keep it natural, and it goes with the environment, and I don't think cement is
Well,
what we
the
want.
problem with decomposed granite is that it washes away. And
Well,
so-
yes, it does have to be maintained, but then what do you want? You want the whole.
Well, keep in mind, these are your tax dollars we're talking
Well,
about.
I
And
understand
if we're
that,
having
but
to come
my
out-
road hasn't been paved either, and I wonder,
Our,
why paying?
our streets, since Gary Hutter has been here, and he's been here, what, about 8 years now? I think something like that, 8 years. Since Gary's been here, he came from the private sector. Okay, so he's not a government guy. He came in here knowing how to run a business and took a charge of the transportation department, and it is like light years better than it used to be, for that reason. The problem is you can't snap your fingers and have everything fixed at once. These are highways and roads that have been here for 40, 50 years. Our neighborhood's been here for 40, most of them, some of it 35 to 40 years. So, you know, they're doing their best to go through and fix these issues. As far as not asking our opinion, they have open houses about things all the time, different issues. You just gotta look for them to be posted. Go to the city website. There's always open houses. And I'm a defender of the city of Round Rock to the death, because I've seen them and how they work. And when people say the city's not doing anything, they're doing stuff, and there may be method to their madness. They're not just doing things willy-nilly. There's a reason behind it. And I appreciate wanting to do, like you said, some high-dollar, nice little, good for your knees running thing, but that's something that takes maintenance. Year after year after year, and especially with much rain we get around here. That may be part of the reason they decided to go with the concrete. It may be a different kind of a concrete, I don't know, it may not be a real hard concrete.
There's lots of drainage that goes down the green belt too.
What's that?
There's lots of drainage that goes down the green belt too, you know, that goes down to the creek, so you
Yeah.
gotta think about that too.
Yeah, that's another thing also. So we'll find out. Call in Sue about the trees and I'll find out about the trail. And see what I can find out on that. Did you sign in on that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll see what I can find out about the trail and call in Sue about the trees. He's the guy that can help you there. Okay? Anything else?
Yeah, Mike, I've got something to add, you know, if somebody's that unhappy with Round Rock, you could always tell them to move to Austin.
Well, I have said that a couple of times, but Larry, I gotta be careful. I gotta live here too.
Yeah.
Is anything else being done to the greenbelt other than the new?
All I know right now is just the walking path, the trail. I don't know anything else planned for it. I mean, other than the line things they're working
I
on.
heard something about the disc golf course at some point. Is
Okay,
that-
all right, so let me,
Yes.
yes, okay, the disc golf course. We were approached by some people, first they went to the city, and I'm gonna pay Rick Atkins back for this, because he punted to me, and said, you gotta talk to the neighborhood, see what they think. And they went up and down Deepwood and the places, people that had things, and asked them, say, hey, we'd like to put a disc golf course, what do you think? Without having all the facts, and they got a bunch of positive answers. So I don't know if you remember, it's probably 3 months ago, I sent out an email, just a benign, without my opinion on it, please respond, what your thoughts are on this. And it was about a 70-30 against, because people didn't want to disturb the deer, they didn't want frisbees flying into their backyard, they didn't want their dogs barking at people going up and down the green belt to coming near their fences. They didn't want people drinking beer. I know you're not supposed to drink beer, but they've been to other disc golf courses where people leave trash and stuff. There were multiple reasons against it, okay? I sent this to the guy that was heading up this group of people, and he basically told me it was BS because the responses that he had gotten were different. And I told him, I said, look, you didn't give them all the facts. I said, and again, I have still not voiced, other than right here tonight, voiced my opinion to anyone about this, other than one or two maybe private emails. And for giving them the benefit of the doubt, I didn't want him to feel like I was torpedoing his project. So after I sent him that email about the results, I said, let's get together with your group. And I've tried 3 or 4 times. They couldn't. And I said, Eli, how about you and I meet together? Eli's the guy that probably knocked on your door. And I've been trying for a month to get together with him, and he keeps pushing it off. So I don't know. The answer is there's going to be no disc golf course on the Greenbelt, I promise you. It's not big enough. The city has never going to let
Well,
that
that's the
happen.
key point, is it's not big enough.
It's not big enough, they'd have to do like a partial course, it wouldn't even be.
Yeah, it's not.
That's how I work.
Have you played?
I'm not good, but I've played one.
I didn't ask if you were pro.
I attempt.
Okay, so I have never done that.
Yeah, we both play, and like the disc golf courses, I mean, it's much wider, and there's more room,
It's
and,
too
you
narrow.
know.
I don't know, I've never played. They won't even let me on a regular golf course, because I play on every other hole in the one I'm supposed to be in.
So getting away
I
from
did
that.
shoot a 38 one time, and then I went to the second hole.
I like to say, if I'm on the triple digits, just playing golf, that's a good game. But, so would I talk to the same Parks and Rec? I have a hackberry tree, technically on the green belt, but like a foot off my back fence.
Trash tree.
Trash tree? Good, because I want to replace my back fence.
They are messy, their roots tear up things.
Yeah.
I've got one in my backyard that I'm just waiting for it to die.
Well, if this one dies, it's gonna take out half of my fence. and
I mean, there was a bunch of those along the creek that they were waiting for it just to die, so
So I can just take it
down.
down if I want to.
Yeah.
Okay, because we like to, you know, we
We're not
figured out,
gonna
we
pay
put
Austin,
like
we
some
don't
fruit
have to like
trees back
money to
there.
cut down a tree, unless it's like a heritage tree, like she talked about, a big oak or something. You gotta be careful there. Yes, sir.
It's our first meeting, we moved here last year,
Yes, sir.
and I don't know what you're talking about with regards to the green belt. What is the green belt?
Where do you live?
Riverline.
Okay, so when you come out of Riverlawn, okay, if you go, over past Chisholm Trail Middle School.
Yes, going back
Okay,
towards the school.
Toward Deepwood?
Yeah.
Okay, if you stop at the stop, right before the stop sign on Deepwood, you slow it down about 3 car lengths back, you're gonna look both directions, you're gonna see the green belt. It's where the big power lines run through.
The swing that sits in
It's a walking trail, basically.
It's essentially like in between, like Oak Ridge.
You cross the green belt every day if you live on
And
Riverlawn.
Deepwood are like the
If
biggest.
you drive to Deepwood, right between, you know, okay, you know the why, okay, on Deepwood, you know the why? Where you go to the right to come, okay?
Yeah.
Right there's the green belt.
Okay, okay, now I know what you're talking about.
It goes all the way
Before
to
you
the
get to Deepwood.
Okay.
It's like.
Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question that I've been dealing with. I realize that if you back up to the creek as a landowner, you can.
Is this about the pumping water?
Have you already talked about it?
Is this about the pumping water?
You can pump the water, but you can drain the creeks if you want to.
Yeah, as long, let me clarify, as long as your property touches the creek. If your property doesn't touch the creek, you can't, and there's sections of this neighborhood where there's a city easement down the middle of the creek, and and then the other half, properties abut each other. But if your property doesn't touch the creek, you can't pump.
But I did talk to the guy that was taking Jessica Wood's place while she was out, and he did look at that plat that was behind us on
Is this the one we talked about?
West Creek Loop.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, I don't even know if that's a good plat. He just totally dismissed it. So I know they're not going to change the landowners of Texas' mind about that, but I just really think that as a human being, that when it's really a drought, when you're draining it and all the fish are going to die if you just keep draining it for your yard a little bit more, that there should be some stipulations with the law that says if it's a drought, you can't do that.
I can agree, and I'm gonna get behind something so you don't throw things at me. Okay, don't throw things at me. I'm a firm believer in nature takes its course, okay?
Yeah.
There are so few people pumping water out of the creek that they're probably having a negligible effect on whether the creek dries up or not. Okay? There's sections of this creek that every year in the summer, they just dry up. And it's not because people are pumping water out of the creek.
Not every year.
It did, and the last drought was, what was it, 2011 or 2010? That's the last time it dried up.
Well,
In our little
let me
area.
clarify. There's sections that are where you see nothing more than a little trickle. I
Right.
consider that dried up. In
Exactly.
other words, a fish is not going to live in that section of water.
Ours is deep enough behind us and the 4 or 5 houses behind us where they do live until that happens. And then carp, they're this big, are just.
You live in the only,
sitting up there.
you live in the only, that stretch of Creek View is the only stretch of the creek that keeps water in it on a consistent basis.
It's real depressing when you see that.
Yeah, it is, but like I said, the number of people that are pumping water, I probably can count them on 3 fingers, you know. The one we talked about, there was one more at one time.
So are you saying this is a state law, they can do this, and so
It's a state law.
locally we can't do anything?
It's a state law, there's nothing you can do about it, it has to do with water rights, or access rights. If your property is on that creek, you can pump water out of
But
that
even
creek.
when there's a declared drought, there's nothing that
There's
goes in?
nothing, it has nothing to do, the city has to do with droughts when it comes to water rationing, not rationing, but they're, you know, what they do when we get a drought, watering 2 days a week, or we're supposed to only water 2 anyway.
So that's considered like your well, like you have a well on your land, you can water every day, nobody else
The well's
can
different.
water.
That's right.
I'm just saying, I'm just thinking legally, because to tell you the truth, the last rain we had, I live on the creek, and normally where I live, it's full 90% of the time, even when we have droughts, but it's been dry, really dry. This has been dry. Well, the last rain, you know, wasn't that much, but it was enough, and I looked down there, and it was like, just a narrow little bit, but there were like 10 deer down there drinking it. So it made me understand that even that little bit they drank. I have a big bucket I put outside my fence so they can drink out of that, but,
Well, there's always sections of the creek that have water in it, and the deer find that, trust me. They find it, they know what it's, they know when
I've
it's
seen
in.
them there, but I'm just saying, I understand.
Again, I'm on the board with WCID, we deal with the Greenville area, so we're really familiar with water law and stuff. And that one is specific, that if your property crosses your property, you can pump water out of it. For irrigation, let me clarify, for irrigating your lawn. You can't pump water out of it for some commercial reason or something, but to irrigate your lawn, you can.
I guess it's a little more irritating, because you'll go by and it's like 100 out, and they're doing it during the middle of the day, all over their.
Yeah, well, I met the guy, and that's a lost cause right there. I'm just telling you, that's a lost cause.
I don't know him, so if I see him.
I went over to talk to him, and that's a lost cause, so.
Yeah, okay.
Anything else? Okay, how about, are you guys okay? You're looking? We're gonna turn it over, in Deepwood PTA, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Deepwood, best school in the world. So we're gonna and now, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
Natalie Gould.
Okay, well, welcome and educate us.
All right. Hi, my name is Natalie Gould. I am the PTA president at Deepwood Elementary. I have a 3rd grader that is there currently. I have a 22-year-old that was there in the past, and then I've got a 3-year-old coming. So they've got me for a while. They can't have me for president anymore. I did my 2 years. So, but I just came here today to talk to you guys. We recognize that our community is very important and very interested in what's going on at the school. In the past, we did not have an indoor gymnasium. Not until like 95 or 97 did they build a gym for us. And so underneath the school is this 10,000 square foot area that was where they would play and do gym because they didn't have an indoor gym at all. But after they built the gym in the 90s, it stayed unoccupied. So there was this big 10,000 square foot area underneath the school, 8-foot ceilings. They used to call it the dungeon because you don't know what's down there unless you actually go down there and look. But the district, we were awarded an innovative grant about 3 years ago, and it finally opened a couple weeks ago. So we've been waiting 3 years for the underground to open, and it's kind of a mashup between like a thinkery type place and play for all abilities. So we have this inclusive area where children can enjoy sensory play and imaginative play, and so it's this really cool. I had meant to send Mike some pictures before, but I do have them on the Deepwood PTA Facebook page, and then also the district has put out some videos of what this space looks like. But the reason why I'm coming to y'all is because, you know, the demographics have changed from when the school first started 40 years ago. There aren't as many stay-at-home parents. And so we are struggling with volunteers, finding volunteers. And also, like, people kind of understanding the whole idea of what PTA is, because a lot of the messaging that you receive now, it's like real cliquey, you know, all they want, don't give them your name or your phone number because they're just gonna bug you all the time. But really it is a group of people that are interested in making public education great. So, you know, PTA has helped spearhead things like bringing kindergarten, like across the United States. Like there used to not be kindergarten all the time. Right now, Texas PTA is working on moving the age up for tobacco use from 18 to 21, as they, you know, with the vaping and kind of the prevalence of it and trying to get children to stop doing it. So they want to try to raise the age requirement. But I wanted to tell y'all about the importance of maybe investing your time in the school because, you know, we've been here for 40 years. My husband went to Deepwood. So we've got second generation kids and like first generation parents coming back, giving back, and just making sure that our teachers are supported, the kids are supported. And it doesn't matter if you have kids in school or not, or if your kids are gone, because the kids that go through the school system, whether at Deepwood or Chisholm or Round Rock, they come back. Like our neighborhood is fantastic. Like our kids that graduated came back so they could raise their kids here to be close to their families because they know kind of the quality of education that they receive in this neighborhood. So part of it was to tell y'all about kind of the fun things that are going on at Deepwood, and then part of it was to just let you know that we need help any way you can do. If you have time, the library always needs help. She's got 400 kids that she's supporting that are turning in books every day. She needs help shelving. Like, it can be easy as like making copies, or if you're good at spreadsheets, I could use your help because we're converting from one membership system to a new membership system. And so I think a lot of people don't realize that there are things that you can do at home without having to be physically in a place. So, and it's totally fine if you're in a season of life where you don't have the opportunity to give your time or give your money. But just know that there's an organization out there that supports public schools, and they could use your help in any way that you can give it. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have contact information?
I do. So it's super easy. DeepwoodPTAPresident@gmail.com. Or you can just do DeepwoodPTA@gmail.com. So if you're interested in being a volunteer at the school, from the actual front page of the Deepwood website, there is a special place that says for volunteer information. What you'll need to do to be able to volunteer on campus is to do a background check, just because you will be around students. So you fill out that application. No news is good news. So if you've not heard anything in like 4 or 5 days, you're good to go. Like, call to the school and see, you know, if you've been cleared, and then they can scan your ID and you can start volunteering. And then we also kind of, on the front page of the school, we have a list of all the different signups. So any of the things that we need help with, if we have an event coming up, or we just had STEAM Day, and so we needed parents to kind of like shuttle kids around, or we needed parents to, or just an adult to support the kids as they were doing projects. So we have like one-time things, or we have multiple-time things. You know, if you like carnivals, we have a carnival coming up in the spring if you want to help. So if you don't want to help physically and you just want to paint, like, we will take any kind of help that you will get.
I know that some of the elementary these schools are needing adults to read to children, but I understand that Deepwood is not in need of that right now. Is that correct?
We take adults to listen to children read. So, I know Kinder for sure does it. They have.
Usually it's third grade or so.
I know, I volunteered when my son was in kinder, and I think first grade, they kind of shifted things a
Have they?
little bit. Just kind of in the way that they're having the individual reading times. I would have to double check that we always want people to listen to kids read, to kind of coach them and help them. You know, they have like a favorite book that they want to read, and then they have a challenging book that maybe they don't know all the words to. And so you're just gonna guide them and help them. And it's nice to read to someone other than your teacher and other than your classmate. So
What about mentoring children?
we are, yeah, there's also a mentor application online, and we have a few mentors I know who always love mentors.
This is a little bit off topic, but it's still related. What happened to the recycled paper bin?
I don't know where the bin was. Yeah, it used to be on the corner. I know they still have them at the recycling center. I can talk to the principal to see if it's something that we had negotiated or if it was something that just, I don't know.
Somebody stole it, we'll report it to the police.
I know.
That is a good question, I don't know.
That's important.
No, it is, because it gets back to school. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You can send me a list of
Volunteer opportunities.
Sure. We can send it out to the neighborhood association, and post it on Facebook pages. They have an amazing principal. Reba is just amazing. And I talk to her every couple of weeks or so about something, whether we're taking tacos over for the teachers for in-service day or donate something else for the kids to help with it. That's our main project as me and my business, but also try to, as the neighborhood, we donate a lot of money to them and Chisholm Trail and Round Rock High School every year.
Mike does a fantastic job of helping all the schools, and then we also take, like, each month, every school does kind of a teacher luncheon, whether it be middle, high school, elementary. We could use some that way too.
So I'll send something out if you guys have a chance to do that. I know some of us are busy all the time. Sometimes we have a little window to help out. If you can feel free to share it with friends. Let them know that the opportunities are out there. Okay?
Thank you
Would
so
you do me a favor before you leave? Would you put your name and contact information at the bottom of there?
Sure.
So,
Yes.
all right. Thank you. I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Thought you'd forget.
Anybody in here has a warrant, you get a chance to leave right now.
Make sure you take notes on that sheet back there. We'll be checking later. I didn't know how many folks would be here, and this was completely unannounced, so you might have to share. I've only printed up 10 of these documents, but you're welcome to look through them. And
Big thanks to Lieutenant Bales, because he was like a surprise attendee here, and I didn't know what we were gonna do to fill the time with.
We're okay. So I don't really have a prepared speech. I saw this because I live across the highway, but I have a kiddo that goes to Round Rock High School. And if you guys have been around for any length of time, you know the police department does our best to be very active in the HOAs, because the HOAs do their very best to help us out as well. So I thought, well, I'll just show up and share some information and answer questions. So I don't have a prepared speech, but I want to get you kind of up to date on where things are with the police department. So we recently had 8 of our new recruits hit the streets. It takes 10 months to get them to this point. So these officers started in January of this year as cadets. They were just civilians, and we took off the streets, put them in a police academy, and then they do an advanced academy, and now they're actually going to take all of that skills and training. They're in the cars with field training officers, and they're out patrolling the neighborhoods, and it'll take about 4 months of training before they're blessed to operate independently. So those 8 officers hit the streets literally this week. In addition to that, we're in a hiring process right now where we've got 11 vacancies that we're going to fill to begin an academy in December. So that same process I just described will start over in December, hoping that it'll take probably close to 12 to 14 months to get those officers cleared to make an impact on staffing. So that's a blessing for us because that's more bodies on the streets, which means more officers to respond to calls for service, which is always a good thing. In addition to that, in January, the patrol commander is instituting new shift formatting. For the first time in the 22 years that I've been at Round Rock PD, we actually got to bid for our shifts. Historically, we rotated. You were either on days or you were on nights. And every 4 months, you just rotated 6A to 6P or 6P to 6A. As you can imagine, like any shift work, that can take its toll on officers and their families. And quite frankly, a lot of officers did their best to go to a different assignment, such as traffic or detectives, just to get a better schedule, a normal schedule. So in January, we actually got to implement a shift bid process, and you bid based on seniority. In addition to that, we restaffed or scheduled folks so that the staffing levels were consistent with the call volume. So you may not have a ton of officers at 6 o'clock in the morning because the call volume's not there to support that. We would rather readjust and have those officers out during the peak hours of the day, which are typically 3 p.m. to about 2 a.m. And so you're going to see where today we have about 17 officers, 4 sergeants and a lieutenant running the street. In January, during peak hours, you're going to see 27 officers because we've reallocated some of those existing resources.
This starts in January?
Yes. So again, that's a very positive thing. So you're going to see a lot more cops running around doing work that needs to be done. We're hoping and anticipating seeing a potential reduction in response times, especially to critical incidents, although our times are very low as it is now. But that staffing changed, first time we've ever seen it. So that's going to be a good thing. With new officers coming aboard, another good thing. And then last thing is, we all know what comes with the last quarter of the year. It's burglary season in cops' mind. I say that because there's always, what we typically see is an increase in burglaries and theft during the holiday seasons.
That's when everybody's buying stuff.
Right, so, you know, you have the package theft stuff that goes on. You have the vehicle burglary stuff that goes on, and you have the residential burglary stuff that goes on. My best advice to you is kind of the lock, take, hide. It's been a mantra that we've pushed out to a lot of our commercial locations with signage, but lock your stuff up, don't leave it, take it, or hide it, because most of the time our criminals are criminals of opportunity. They see the opportunity, they take advantage of it. So I tell you that just to know, here we are going into the holiday season. You're going to see most of us are going to be doing all that shopping online and getting those packages delivered to our homes. And the criminals are well aware of it, and they're going to be driving around looking for those packages on the front porch, or walking through the parking lots, or even walking through the neighborhoods. We do live in a very safe community, and so what that typically results in is folks feel very comfortable leaving their vehicles unlocked in their driveways. And a lot of criminals know that, because unfortunately the good neighborhoods are usually a short drive from the bad ones, and they'll park at the beginning of your street, and they'll walk right down the street checking door handles. And if the door is unlocked, they're going to look for whatever they can get their handy dandy little hands on.
See, I've trained you well. So when a car's unlocked and somebody gets in the car, what do we call that? Oh, come on, I've trained you better than that. That's not a break-in, that's a let-in, okay?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I was teaching the Victim Services Academy recently, and we were talking about violent crimes and how those folks help out. And similar to that is if you go to a bank and you pass a note to the teller and you say, "Give me all the money," the teller gives it to you, is that a robbery? No, that's a withdrawal, right? So, because the key element...
You didn't threat them, you didn't have a gun.
Exactly, that's a key element in robbery. Now, most of the time, the teller feels afraid, like, oh my God, I was afraid that subject had a gun or a bomb or some sort of fear is generated, but without fear, you don't have a robbery. So it's kind of the same thing. It's always better to just lock your stuff up, even though we live in a very safe community. if you make it easy, they will absolutely take advantage of it. And it just takes a split second for that to happen. So take the initiative to not be a victim in that regards, and you would be surprised how much heartache you will save yourself. And of course, always remember that the solvability of these burglaries is very, very small. The reason for that is most of us don't know what we have in our car. Most of us don't know what the serial number is to our computers. By the time you realize that they've taken your purse or your wallet that you left in the center console, they've already gone to the Walmart and or any other 24-hour location and done a transaction on your credit card. And when you realize, oh my gosh, my wallet or purse is gone, and you go inside and you check your account, they've already hit your account. So you're going to be behind the curve trying to recoup whatever is depleted from your account. So it's always better lock, take, hide. Lock your stuff up, take it inside, or secure it, or hide it out of view. So, any questions, comments, or yes, ma'am?
Are you guys doing for the holiday season the deliveries to the police station again?
We are, and that is on our department Facebook page. Yep, and then what she's talking about is a service that we provide where you can have your packages shipped to the police department. So that they're not stolen from your front doorstep, and then you can come to the police department during normal business hours and sign for your package. We have police department volunteers that help manage that program. So, good question. Thank you for the question. Any other questions?
Yeah. Would you comment on the status of the new training facility, the utilization of it, who's using it?
So, it is busy all the time. As a matter of fact, sometimes we get upset, we're like, hey, how come we can't get into our own training facility? But it's busy. I mean, it was designed with the concept being that it would not just be a local resource, but a regional resource. And so we are having federal agents use it, the sheriff's department uses it, because we have some unique.
They all pay, by the way. They're not taking advantage of your tax dollars.
They all pay. And the thing to think about it is if we have a critical incident around, like the fact is, those are the resources that we will pull from as well to help. A couple of years back, we had the Travis County deputy incident. I was the lead investigator on that, and the fact is, we had resources from all over. So anytime we have a critical incident in town, we get those resources. So in return, they do come and train. But yes, federal partners, our sheriff's department partners, we're doing classroom training. Of course, the fire department's got training going on out there all the time. The motor officers are training. Of course, our new guys spend a lot of time out in the tactical village that's back there. We do in-service twice a year and utilize the facility. Every officer goes through a 2, sometimes 3-day in-service twice a year. So it is absolutely getting utilized. Matter of fact, they struggle, the staff that's over there. You have 6 officers, a sergeant, a lieutenant commander, and 2 civilian staff just on the police department side. They are challenged by just facilitating some of the training that goes on there because their setup is tear down. Then there's reporting requirements that we take on. When the class is held there, it's held through our academy staffs, which gets reported to the state law enforcement commission. So it is a very active place. If you've never seen the place and have an interest in taking a tour, please get in touch with Mike or get in touch with me, and I'll be happy to give you a personal tour of it. It's amazing.
Don't forget Junior Academy.
And the Junior Police Academy. If you have youngsters during the summertime, our school resource officers do a Junior Police Academy where they spend a week doing a variety of police activities, and it's not all doom and gloom. They actually have a really, really good time. They do rappelling, they see demonstrations by SWAT, they do crime scene stuff. It's really kind of an exposure to what the police department's really like. It's a lot of fun.
The rappelling videos were awesome. I had a whole bunch of friends send their kids and their
training overhead.
No, had nothing to do with training. I was just looking at this and wondering if I'm not seeing something. Have there been no sexual assaults in Round Rock area?
In that particular report, that's
This
only
is just
for
from
Round
Round Rock West, right?
Let me borrow.
If it's not on there, there have not been.
I want to caution you one thing about these reports, okay? Don't get panicky when you look over here and you see 657 calls for this period, okay?
Right.
All right, because you got to kind of decipher these things on what they really are. A lot of these are family issues, just between family. Some of them are like they go out and nothing's there, they don't find anything, there's a lot of
And
this.
don't forget you have a high school that's got over 3,000.
Exactly, so.
Yeah.
So, which is why I'm surprised there's not a sexual assault or two in there, I hate to say it, but
On that,
active bunch of kiddos.
on that point, my 1 year here, the traffic pattern for that main road going to 620.
Deepwood.
Yes, I'm probably kicking 20 dead horses, it's my first year here, but who in their infinite wisdom designed that traffic?
Okay, all right, so let me address that. You're probably talking where it gets back up here trying to get out on the 620 in the afternoon, right?
No, in the morning.
In the morning.
We're trying to get out, right?
Going back to high school.
I'm good going out. It's the the buses trying to get in, the loop on the front of the school, the bus.
Oh, you mean at Chisholm Trail?
No, at the high school.
Round Rock High School.
At the
High school in Deepwood.
The high school, it's.
Nothing's gonna happen there, there's nothing better gonna happen there. The only thing better that's gonna happen is the way Deepwood is designed, where you have that pocket that only like 3 cars can fit in, and cars get backed up all the way down in the afternoon, and the buses are in
So
there.
that's my question is, has anybody done a traffic pattern study to apply maybe a change? That's my question.
We need police out there every day.
There has been,
There has been.
like some empirical data,
Same thing,
satellite
okay,
view,
give me an idea.
something nice, really methodical,
How long have you been here?
a year.
Okay, so before you moved here, Chisholm Trail Middle School, cars used to park across the street along the rock wall there.
Yeah.
Okay? They put park down both sides of that street.
Yeah, you could one lane.
And you'd be driving up there, I don't care how slow you'd be, and somebody would be opening their door to let their kid out or something. So we worked took us 2 years. The pattern you see right now, it's not perfect with the left turn lane and the no parking along this side. We got that done, but we had to do that in coordination with the school district and the city engineering department. So what I would suggest is I would contact the school principal and ask them and start from there.
Okay, so it's my first time, guys, sorry to ask the question, I'm not trying to be a good idea fairy,
We need good idea fairies.
I just,
Here's the challenge we have. We have 1,500 homes in this neighborhood. And I'm always getting emails that say, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? Why don't we do the other? And I'm actually at the point right now, when Don and I are in with this full, I would say, you know what, that's a great idea. Why don't you get a little group together and we'll take care of the promoting it or making it public or whatever. But you guys gotta go do the footwork. You know, him and I are limited. It's just 2 of us.
so I don't understand the format, guys, like, it's our first time, like, this is my wife Erica, I'm Ishmael, I retired from the Marines last year, 30 years, full. Yeah, we made Round Rock our home because of the schools. It was Frisco or here, we landed here.
Oh, this is the better choice.
That's what's really funny, because every time Round Rock does a study, they go look at Frisco.
Anyway, we're glad to be here.
Just
Welcome to the
explain to him
neighborhood.
about this has always been the front of the school.
He's not a Marine.
Oh, and Chisholm-
No, I'm not.
You know what I mean? I mean, I
Yeah,
have passed the high school.
It's always been that way over there. Since you're talking
Because
about,
Lake Creek is where kids used to come in.
yeah, there used to be a problem on the other side of the school on Lake Creek Drive before they built the new high school on this side.
I was just thinking, why don't you let the buses come on the other side, opposite side, and drop off right there, and.
Ismail, I just said, you know what, that's a great idea. Call the principal and talk to him.
All of this stuff.
Real quick on the training center, I was a chairman of that, I just want to tell you a little story here. I was chair of that bond committee, $123 million bond we passed for parks, police, all kinds of stuff. I think it was 2013 was when we did that. And I had the opportunity to provide with our former police chief, Tim Webb, to a training activity. We all got in the police vehicles and stuff, guess what? We drove to Fort Hood to train. And we were out to Fort Hood to train. Well, what does that do? That takes a bunch of police officers off of our street for a day, sitting up there training, okay? And that was part of the reasons that we needed this. And I love it when a plan comes together perfectly, because when we put that bond together, package together, we knew that that facility was gonna be expensive, but we also banked on, like you said, FBI, probably ICE, probably all kinds of entities, different police departments from the area using it as a training facility. Not only is it the building, but if you go behind it, the city did a great job of buying land. There's a whole bunch of floodplain back there. That was good for nothing, except for, they got a nice big driving track back there that they can learn and practice driving on. They've got buildings that they can practice terrorism attacks and stuff like that. So that plan came together perfectly. So that's why that funding that we get from, we don't hand our tax dollars out to other people. I just say, hey, come use our facilities.
Right.
And again, on the breaking in thing that he was talking about, and he'll know the numbers better than I am. Well, you probably know the stats, but I'm gonna throw a number out there, just pull it out of my tail end for out there. 80% of the time, the calls you get for someone to come and say they broke into my car, the car was probably unlocked, right?
That's correct. It's a
Really
very, very high. Very
That's what
high.
he's saying, it's not a break-in, it's a lock.
He lost his work phone.
Don't leave your garage door open in plain sight when your car, because all they gotta do is, and they're in your house.
Right.
Okay? Don't leave your laptops, computers, stuff laying in plain sight.
You know, on that same note, one of the trends that we did see, so in the first 10 months of this year, because of vehicle burglaries, you know what they're getting most of? Guns.
Oh.
In the city of Round Rock, nearly 80 guns since January in vehicle burglaries because people have a concealed carry permit, but they leave their gun in their car.
Yeah, so let me ask you a question about that.
In some cases, yes.
So, because I have a concealed carry permit, I want to make sure I understand it. So, your gun can't be laying on your seat, right? It's not supposed to be just laying on your seat if it's CHL. It's got to be in a console.
It should be concealed. It should be concealed. And I know there's lots of rules that govern this, and I'm not trying to tell you it's right or it's wrong. I'm just simply saying that the thieves know that you keep your guns in your cars. So you're right, there are laws that prevent you from carrying your weapon into certain places that have the signs posted and things like that. And you have to make the decision as to whether or not you're going to comply with that law or not. I'm kind of of the school that, well, if it's concealed and you don't know I have it, then I'd rather have it and not need
The
it.
signs he's talking about is, they're called 30-6 and 30-7 signs.
So,
There's two different signs.
I'm not telling you to.
No,
you're not supposed to.
I'm saying, they're big signs that look like an encyclopedia. Those are the only legal signs. You can't put up a sign that says no guns allowed. That's not a valid sign, okay?
No.
It's got to comply with Texas law. It's got to say 30-6, 30-7,
It has
which is,
specific-
one of them is concealed carry, one of them is open carry. So that's
The big thing is, it's just an example of how prevalent thieves are. They know you can pretty much drive through an academy, you can look for the NRA sticker or.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't put the NRA sticker.
The Glock sticker. and pretty soon,
57 Magnum.
yeah, you come out and find the keyhole of your Ford F-150 punch and your gun's missing.
Gotta be clear, I don't run around with a gun. I only carry when I travel.
Well, I think it's funny because when I was in high school, we used to
Yeah,
drive around.
We have nice shootings.
Times have changed, right?
Okay, all right, let's,
Question.
yes, sir.
A quick question. I've lived in other cities, and they have what's called a ride-along, and it's a very nice experience. I spent a shift with a police officer, and it's very nice experience. Do we have that around?
We do, absolutely. Any citizen can contact the police department. If you'll email me, I'll get you to the right person that schedules those, and you can come do a ride-along and see it firsthand.
You will hear me defend our police and fire department with my life, because when I start hearing people badmouthing our police department, they don't patrol our neighborhood enough, I come unglued, just warning you ahead of time, okay? Because I've worked with these guys for a lot of years and know the work that they do and how hard they try to protect us, so, thank you.
And it does help to come get in the car with an officer. If you have a doubt or a question, or you're not sure how things work, then do exactly what you say. Ask Mike or get an email to me and get in the car and go right along, and you might be surprised at the underbelly of our community or even how we do things.
I think she won.
Okay, one last piece of business. Thank you.
I'm out of here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Tell you a little story here. 12 years ago, did we say about 12 years ago, I had lived here a long time, but I hadn't been to any meetings. Of course, we didn't know when they were, hadn't been publicized very much, but somehow or another I heard about a meeting over here in the sanctuary, and I showed up, and there was about 8 people there, and a guy running the meeting, and at the time, the bylaws said you could only be president for 2 years, and that was his second year, and my wife's sitting next to me, and he's saying, we need someone for president, and my wife goes, why don't you do this? What she's learned now is that it was a life sentence, okay? And because I sent out an email, and posted on both the Facebook pages, this is when we install our officers for the next year. I said, anybody is welcome to run for president, treasurer. We have Don, one of our at-large members here, Sue, who helps us when we do a printed newsletter. We haven't done one in a while. And we actually don't really have a secretary. And none of these, I have struggled to find volunteers to help Don put out signs. We've done way better this year. We've gotten quite a few more people to help, so that's really good. So the point being is we are here right now, it's October. We install our officers, the current slate of officers is me as the president, Mary Beth Ray, who would be here, except she had knee surgery, as the vice president, Don as the treasurer, no secretary. We have Don as you're still a member of large, right? Yeah. And we have Darlene Chris as a member of large. So we're missing a secretary and a member of large. So do I hear a motion to accept those slate of officers unless there's any nominations from the floor?
What is a member of large?
Huh?
You need to do that.
You'd be good at it.
A member of large. Nothing, you don't have to do anything. Member at large basically is just kind of an advisory, so when we do have to have a board meeting, which we haven't had one really for
You can be
once a year, we get just kind of an advisory.
I'm in my first year of retirement, I'm trying to enjoy it. No,
That's not the most, I mean,
what was the other one, the secretary?
we have a secretary, which is basically to just take a few notes here and probably help with some of the notices that we send out and stuff every now and then, so it's very simple stuff.
I'll take the first one. Second, I'll do the first one. No. I'll start that.
Welcome. You're gonna.
I'll start that.
Which one are you gonna do?
Member of large.
Member of large. Okay, now we're full. We got a full member. So you can find us a secretary. Anyway, so unless there's any nominations from the floor,
bless your
do I hear a motion to accept this?
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Being none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Crap, Don, we're in it for another. Okay. Yes,
I just
ma'am.
want to ask you a question because I don't even remember when I paid my dues last. It was in the last.
Okay, so let me clarify. We don't have dues. We have.
What do I get into?
We used to have.
See how easy it is?
We changed that. And we just voluntary contributions in our emails.
You know what I do?
He's a good man.
Instead of going by down
Okay,
by the high school, when my kids are getting in or out of school, I go down to Green, because I was going to be careful. Oh, it scares me to death.
Stamped envelope.
Yeah, so I go there every day, I got the every time I pull in that.
What you're doing here, you will learn an awful lot about
That's the man if you want to write a check.
our city.
He's the treasurer. And everything else too.
We want here with.
Okay, any questions before we break this? Go home?
41 years.
None? Thank you all, appreciate it.
Round Rock is very different.